The boat that you are travelling on today is the Silver Bonito, operated by Wood Silver Fleet. There are toilets located downstairs, situated at the back of the boat near where you entered. For the comfort of all our guests, we ask that you refrain from smoking on this cruise. If you have a mobile phone, please switch it to silent now. Before we depart, please listen carefully to the following short safety announcement. This boat is licensed to carry 249 passengers. We maintain constant contact with Thames Navigation Service and the River Police at all times. This boat is fully equipped with a full complement of life jackets and life rafts. The life jackets are stowed underneath the fixed seating in the lower level and in the locker on the upper deck, clearly marked with green signs. All exits are clearly marked. From the lower saloon, there are doors at both sides of the vessel, or you can exit through the sliding windows. The upper deck is easily accessible by steps either side of the lobby. In the unlikely event of an emergency, the captain will give you full instructions. For your own safety, and in particular for any young children on board, please remain seated as much as possible.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Thames River Cruise, courtesy of the London Eye. My name is Luke, I'm your guide for the duration of the time. I'm the guy that was checking your tickets before you came on the boat. I'd just like to reiterate one piece of information from the announcement. There is strictly no standing up a deck. The guys on the bridge need a clear view, both ahead and to the sides, so we don't bump into a bridge or anything else. The only other rule is when we approach bridges or go on them, I do want you to wave like a maniac at the people on the bridges. This is a piece of very important scientific research. If they wave back politely, they are tourists. If they don't wave back, or they wave back with just one or two fingers, they're almost certainly Londoners. And to the right there we have Big Ben. Now Big Ben is still, Big Ben is technically just a 13.5-ton bell inside the clock tower, which chimes in the key of E, takes its chime from Handel's Messiah. I know my Redeemer liveth. But everyone calls the clock tower Big Ben, even though it's a fictional name. It's actually the Elizabeth Tower. It's actually the Elizabeth Tower. It's named Elizabeth Tower in 2012 on the occasion of Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee. But to be honest, if you ask anyone in London direction to the Elizabeth Tower, you'll get a bit of a blank look. Ask directions to Big Ben. I know exactly what you're talking about. Big Ben is still the largest four-face clock in the world. Each clock base is 23 feet across and is 7 metres. Big Ben was named after the man who was the Commissioner for Works at the House of Parliament at the time the clock tower was built. His first name was Benjamin, and I think we should breathe a sigh of relief his mother didn't call him Richard. Over to our right there we have the London Eye. Now it looks like it's not moving, it's actually travelling at a speed of 0.6 miles per hour, exactly 1 kilometre per hour. And this way it's built, the London Eye is not a Ferris wheel. The London Eye is what we call a cantilevered observation wheel. The difference is that a Ferris wheel will be pinned to the ground on both sides. A cantilever wheel is only pinned to the ground on one side. And it's an observation wheel because it pods on the outside of the wheel, which obviously gives you a much better view. Now it's become very popular to get married at the very top of the London Eye, but as we all know, if you get married at the very top, it's all downhill after that. Now it wasn't even supposed to be permanent, just put up there for 2 years at the beginning of the year 2000 to mark the new millennium. And it proved so popular they've kept up ever since. Come on, London's most popular attraction since opening at the beginning of the year 2000, it's had over 75 million passengers. To put that in some perspective, the entire population of the United Kingdom is only a little bit over 67 million. And then generally we are approaching not one, not two, but 3 bridges. We have the 2 Jubilee footbridges. They were put up in 2002 to commemorate Queen Elizabeth II's Golden Jubilee. In between them, we have the Hungerford Rail Bridge, taking trains to and from Charing Cross Station over to our left there. So be sure to wave. There you go. And as this next bridge, this is Waterloo Bridge. Waterloo Bridge is the longest bridge in London. And it's voted by Londoners to have the best views of London. And so when you're up there, you might want to take your camera or phone along. Waterloo Bridge was built during the Second World War, and as most of the men were away fighting or doing other war work, it's almost entirely built by women. And it's said to be the strongest bridge across the Thames in London. So make of that what you will. And it's also the only bridge in London to be built ahead of schedule and below budget, so hats off to women, I say. You can tell how the woman's practical touch as well, because they built it with Portland stone. That was a practical touch, because Portland stone has mineral qualities which means it's self-cleaning in the rain. And they did all that whilst they've been shot at and bombed. But Waterloo Bridge is the only bridge in London to suffer any more damage in the Second World War. And for those reasons, Waterloo Bridge is nicknamed the Ladies' Bridge. Over to our right there, that tower, that office block under scaffolding, that is the old ITV television studio complex. That is most of cultural gems, as the Jeremy Kyle show this morning and The Only Way Is Essex were built. They've actually moved to a new television studio complex now. They're actually dismantling this building bit by bit. That's what that scaffolding is about. Will British cultural life ever be the same again? I hear you thinking. Now, it's on the right, that red brick building, the Oxo building. That building was very controversial because advertising has always been banned on the River Thames. So the architect got round the ban by spelling out the word Oxo in windows on all four faces of that tower, and not mentioning that in his planning application. And those windows light up at night. It's been a very effective piece of advertising because 90 years on, Oxo is still the leading brand of beef stock cube in this country. The top there, under the glass canopy, that is a rooftop restaurant run by Harvey Nichols, where I bet they do really good gravy. As I said, advertising is banned on River Thames, so there was a court case over this building back in the 1930s. Oxo were taken to court, and they obviously hired a very good lawyer. He argued that as the windows were part of the structure, they couldn't be counted as advertising. And the judge accepted that, and the case was dismissed. That in itself was quite controversial. There were accusations of corruption. In fact, a lot of people said the judge held stock in the company. And it was on the left there, thank you. There's always one connoisseur on board. And on the left there we have the City of London skyline. And then we're further to that we have the dome of St Paul Cathedral. If you notice the City of London skyscrapers were all quite some distance from St Paul's. And that's because by law, you have to have a clear line of vision to St Paul's Cathedral from 13 designated viewpoints in London. So they built them all over to the east. That's why the tower, the skyscraper, all those kind of weird and wonderful shapes. That is to accommodate the line of vision to St Paul's. As we head under Blackfriars Bridge here, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually passing under a couple of bridges and half a bridge. As you'll see, these are red stanchions to left and right. We'll tell you more about those also on the return leg. So there we have the dome of St Paul's Cathedral. That's actually the fifth St Paul Cathedral has been on that site. This one was built by the great Christopher Wren when the previous one was destroyed in the Great Fire of London in 1666. This one took 35 years to build, and the dome alone took an estimated 65,000 tonnes of stone. And it's the second largest dome of its type in the world. Only St Peter's in Rome is larger. And the building itself is 365 feet high. That's quite deliberate. They wanted it to be 1 foot for every day of the year. If you're metrically minded, that is 111.2 metres. And of course, on July the 29th, 1981, St Paul's was the venue for the wedding of Prince Charles, as King Charles as he is now, and Lady Diana. One of the great globally televised events of the 20th century. To our right there, that white timber frame building looks very ancient. It's in fact only 25 years old. It's a faithful recreation of Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, which actually would have stood about 50 yards back, roughly where that crane is. This one was built by Sam Wanamaker. And you have the Southern Bridge. Now the only bridge in London that's still powered or lit by gaslight, making it very popular with courting couples. So right there we have the Anchor Tavern, very old pub. There's been a pub there for 800 years. We know that Dr. Johnson, the man who compiled the first dictionary in England of the English language, he used to drink in there. Shakespeare tried to get a drink in there, but he was barred. Thank you. And it's on the right there at 1,016 feet tall, that is 309.6 metres. The Shah, the tallest building in Western Europe. Designed by the wonderfully named Italian architect, Mr. Renzo Piano. It's a combination of offices, apartments, restaurants. There's a hotel in there. There's an observation deck on the top of the 72nd floor. On a clear day, you can see every county that surrounds London. Gives you a field of vision around about 40 square miles. Now they were going to put an additional floor on the Shard, but that's another story. Now the architect, Mr. Piano, got a smaller fee than you might expect when designing such a large, prestigious building. But on top of his fee, he also got the part at the very top. But my sources tell me he has since sold that apartment to Mr. will.i.am and the Black Eyed Peas. You heard it here first. Ahead of us, that warship at anchor in the middle of the River Thames there, and it's HMS Belfast, all 11,500 tons of it. Now you can go on board HMS Belfast, and she's a museum. She's part of the Imperial War Museum, and she's a perfectly preserved World War II light cruiser. She had a very illustrious career in the Second World War. She fired the first salvo of the D-Day landings. She was part of the Royal Navy flotilla that was headed by the battleship HMS Duke York. She was part of that flotilla that sank the Scharnhorst, one of Germany's most dangerous surface vessels. And she was a mainstay of the Russian Arctic convoys. As the name suggests, she was built in Belfast. She was built in the same shipyard that the Titanic was built in. But obviously she had a rather longer, more successful career than the Titanic. And again, as befits a ship that was built in Belfast, she was hot on St Patrick's Day, 1938. Over to our left there we have the Tower of London. And the oldest part of the Tower of London is that square building there. That's got a weather vane on four corners. As known as the White Tower. The White Tower was built around 925 years ago. And later, remember I told you it was a good idea to wave to the people of the bridges. It was a particularly good idea at the Tower Bridge. This is Tower Bridge, not London Bridge. And there's no sailor's legend that says, if you are on a ship or a boat and you wave to someone on Tower Bridge, if they wave back, you and everyone on the boat will acquire 5 years good luck. So let's see if our luck's in. They're not going to wave back if you don't wave at them. So I suggest you get waving, guys. There we go, over to your left there. Yeah, they had a double hander there. That's what you want. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest we all go out and buy lottery tickets this week, as a big win is clearly a nailed-on certainty.
Have good luck, apparently. So that's good.
Now you're going to get some great angles for shots of Tower Bridge there. Again, appearances can be deceiving. By London standards, Tower Bridge is opportunely old. Dates from 1894. Built at a time when London was the biggest and busiest port in the world. That's why the central span can be raised or lowered. There was no large cargo ships to come and go. So to our right there, we have the Tower of London again. Now, if you visit Tower of London, don't forget your ticket will include getting to see the crown jewels of the monarch, which are on permanent display to the public in the Tower of London. They're not fakes or reproductions, they are the real things. And the crown jewels consist of over 23,000 separate gemstones. Their gemstone value alone is estimated around about £3 billion. But nobody knows for sure, because no insurance company will touch them. So obviously, if it ever did get stolen, the insurance company would go bankrupt overnight. So they've never been their value for insurance purposes. It actually includes what's for a long time the largest diamond in the world, now the second largest diamond in the world, known as the Star of Africa, or the Cullinan One. It's a cut diamond, it's 535 carats. It's about the size of a man's fist. On its own, estimated to be worth between 2 and 400 million pounds. Now coming up on our right, that older white stone building, that is the custom house. When London was a port, if you were the captain of a cargo vessel bringing goods into London, that's where you went to pay the taxes on the goods you bring in, or the customs, as the tax was known. So that's where a lot of Britain's wealth was originally accumulated. Now the next building down, the yellow brick building, that is Old Billingsgate Fish Market. For many centuries, London's main fish market. At one point, the largest fish market in the world, and over 120,000 tonnes of fish come through every year. Now it's been converted into an event centre. They say they first converted over, it took 4 months for the smell of fish to leave the building. Now the fish boilers at Billingsgate were notorious for their mad language. But it was often said that Billingsgate Fish Market is where the fish was fresh and the language was foul. Before he was famous, Michael Caine, or Maurice Micklewhite, as his real name is, he was a fish boiler there, as were the Cray twins. Ahead of us here, ladies and gentlemen, this rather drab, nondescript bridge, modern bridge, that is London Bridge. Now, we'll soon be heading under London Bridge, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, despite what you might have heard, it's not falling down. In fact, the current London Bridge only dates from 1973.
That's a
The
bit
previous London Bridge was sold to an American gentleman who took it brick by brick back to the Lake Havasu Ski Resort in Arizona, where it now stands over the eponymous Lake Havasu. Now the nursery rhyme, London Bridge is falling down, actually has its basis in real life events. In the 13th century, King Henry III gave London Bridge to his wife. In those days, he had to pay some money to cross over the bridge. However, he was supposed to set aside some of that money for repairs and maintenance. But she didn't see it like that. She regarded it all as her own personal spending money. The bridge fell into disrepair and it did eventually fall down. And that's why the nursery rhyme goes, London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. You'll be able to see it's got the name on the inside of those stands there. So that church spire, that is Southwark Cathedral. And that church dates mostly from the 14th century. That cathedral, I'd say, dates mostly from the 14th century. We know for a fact that Shakespeare spent time there because his brother Edmund was buried in Southwark Cathedral. And we know that for a fact he attended his brother's funeral. This next bridge here, this is the the Cannon Street Rail Bridge. I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, I have scoured the history books. There's pretty much nothing interesting to say about this bridge, apart from the fact, in my opinion, it's the ugliest bridge in London. Now, if you're of a sensitive disposition, please do not look over those windows on the right, as they are the windows of a sauna. And we do sometimes have people walking past those windows in a state of undress. They always tell me to put my clothes back on, but never mind. Oh no, he's got his jockeys on. I can sense the disappointment. And this next bridge is Southwark Bridge. Now Southwark Bridge actually stood in, probably one of London's most attractive bridges, stood in for London Bridge in the 1964 film Mary Poppins. Walt Disney flew over to London during filming, took one look at London Bridge, one look at Southwark Bridge, said no, we'll use Southwark Bridge instead, and the Americans will never know the difference. And he was quite right. Now, speaking of bridges with august film careers, this footbridge ahead of us here, if you're a fan of Harry Potter, you might well recognise that bridge, because at the very beginning of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, that bridge gets destroyed. In the most recent Mission Impossible movie, that bridge gets destroyed. Now, quite what Hollywood directors got against that bridge, I have no idea. It's obviously very deep running and personal. Its actual official name is the Millennium Footbridge, as the name suggests. It was opened in June of the year 2000. But within 48 hours of opening, they had to close it because it had a very violent wobble, up to 7 inches, earning it the nickname of the Wobbly Bridge. And that's closed down for 2 years for modifications to stop the wobble. And the architect, Norman Foster, he refused to accept responsibility for the wobble. He went on live TV at the time. He said, "Nope, the wobble is not the fault of my design. It's the fault of Londoners. They walk funny. They march all over the place, and that's what's making the bridge wobble." So Norman Foster was not a Londoner, as you may have guessed. He was from out north somewhere. Stockport, I think. Now over to our left, that rather unusually shaped skyscraper to our left there. That is one of London's newest skyscrapers. That is #1 Blackfriars. Now, as you may have noticed, Londoners do actually give a nickname to a bridge or a building. This one is so new they haven't quite settled on a nickname for it. Some of the early contenders are the Boomerang Building, the Cocktail Shaker, the Vase, the Baby Bum, and my personal favourite, the Kim Kardashian. You either see or you don't, I guess. Now notice here, this bridge here, as well as being a bridge, that is Blackfriars Rail Station. If you look up there, see there's a train with a platform up there. It's the only station in Great Britain that's got entrance on both sides of the River Thames. Now also again, in the most recent Mission Impossible movie, Tom Cruise runs across the top of the roof there. And those roof slats are in fact solar panels. They provide 80% electricity for the station, making it the cleanest station in Great Britain, although I'm not sure how much they provide it today, to be honest. Now these oversized bird tables I mentioned earlier, they're actually the stands of the old St Paul's Rail Bridge. They used to stand here. They built in the Victorian era and carried trains for the London, Chatham and Dover rail line. Now with the advent of diesel locomotives in the 50s, they're much heavier. It was deemed no longer strong enough to carry trains. They decided to demolish it. And they've ripped up the track easily enough. That was no problem. And after ripping up the track, they realised that these stanchions are too deeply sunk and too well built. To get rid of them, they'd have to dynamite them. And that would involve destroying these two bridges as well. So, not a very good idea. They just painted them red and just left them there, basically. Now over to our right, we have the City of London School. And that's where very Daniel Radcliffe, aka Harry Potter, went to school. When he was at Hogwarts, of course. Now cruising along, ladies and gentlemen, to the untrained eye, the River Thames might look rather dirty. And it's actually rather unfair. The River Thames is in fact the cleanest river in the world that flows through a capital city. The reason it's that kind of dark green or olive colour is twofold. First of all, the River Thames is a very tidal river. It's got a huge tidal range of up to 28 feet. We're very close to high tide right now. In a couple of hours' time it'll be much, much lower. You'll see sandbanks, mud banks, much more of the shoreline than we can see now. Also, you must have noticed we're going pretty quick now compared to on the way out. As because at the moment we're going with the current. The current here is very strong. The current is 6 to 9 knots. So don't ever go swim in the River Thames because you cannot swim at 6 to 9 knots. You'll get swept away. Now these two factors, the tides, strong currents, that means that the mud and silt at the bottom of the River Thames is constantly being churned up, giving the river as that kind of dark green, almost olive colour. But the fact is, around about 150 species of fish and bird make their living on the River Thames. We get a handful of salmon coming back every year down at the estuary. I've seen seals, up at HMS Belfast. Obviously they were Navy SEALs. I've also seen dolphins and porpoises. And at this, by the way, this is all salt water. That's where you get those creatures. For a couple of miles further west, this is still salt water. You could argue quite successfully the River Thames is just an inlet of the North Sea, basically. Now, this means, and if this doesn't put you off going to swim the River Thames, nothing will. The River Thames is home to 3 varieties of shark. The largest of which, that got your attention, the largest of which is the toad shark, only discovered about 18 months ago. It's a 6-footer. It's in these waters. It's a 6-footer. It's also got poisonous spines on its back. So it's not something we'll have a close encounter with. And this is all the more surprising when you consider that in 1951, the River Thames was declared biologically dead. It was so polluted in those days, nothing could live here. They did a massive clean-up in the following years and decades. I say today it's the cleanest metropolitan river in the world. Now over to our right, to that older building with a green dome on it, that is Somerset House, the largest 18th century building in London and the world's very first purpose-built office block. It's where we keep on our records of births, marriages and deaths, or hatched, matched and dispatched, as it was known. As a little note, even a lot of Londoners don't know this. Somerset House has got a beautiful quadrangle in the middle, beautiful court, beautiful lawns. It's all open to the public. In the summer, they've already finished up. In the summer, they have open air cinema screenings in that quadrangle. It's open to the public. In the winter, for a couple of weeks either side of Christmas, there's an open air ice skating rink in there. It's also open to the public. It's all very cheap, and I'd say not very well known, but well worth checking out. And then we're about to go under the ladies' bridge for the second and final time. Over to our right there, that stone obelisk. That stone obelisk is 3,500 years old. And it's the oldest outdoor object in London. It's actually older than London itself. It's from ancient Egypt. It's known as Cleopatra's Needle. It was presented to Britain in 1818 by Egypt in gratitude for its keeping Napoleon out of Egypt. If you look close, you can still see the hieroglyphs that were carved into it 3.5 millennia ago. We're very proud of it. It's one of the few things we didn't steal from Egypt. We were actually given it. So we're quite appreciative of it. Now this one is supposed to be haunted. People are reporting hearing strange sounds and strange music coming from late night. There's identical on the same range in Central Park in New York City. I don't remember them liberating Egypt, but there you go. And ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our last set of bridges. This is your final chance to wave like a lunatic at complete strangers. You could try it on the tube home, that'd probably get you carted off. So let's see if we've got tourists or Londoners. Over to our left there, we have the London Eye again. Now, the London Eye in its time has witnessed over 5,000 proposals of marriage. And what you do, if you want to propose to your beloved of the London Eye, is take them along. Don't tell them, of course, and make sure you have told the people in the ticket office. What they'll do They'll keep an eye on which capsule you're in. When at the very top, they stop the wheel so you can propose to maximum effect. Or maximum embarrassment, depending on the answer. So I'd imagine that's a long 15 minutes back down if they say no in front of 15 strangers. That is a long time to pretend that you're only joking. And to really rub it in, because it's part of the ticket, as soon as you come out of your capsule, they automatically take your photograph. Now, if you've just had a rejection, I somewhat doubt that photograph is going to be going over the mantelpiece. You'll be glad to hear, though, of those 5,000 plus proposals, there have been fewer than 20 rejections. How can anyone be so heartless? Although you have to be pretty confident to pop the question quite so publicly. And then, gentlemen, very sadly, we are coming toward the end of our cruise together. Now, if I can please ask you, on the upper deck in particular, please remain seated until the docking procedure is safely completed. It's a little bit choppy, it's a little bit windy today. The boat can make a sudden movement during this procedure. We don't want you going over the side, don't want you hurting yourselves. Obviously, your safety is our paramount concern. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might be surprised here, London is a very wealthy city. Now, London is by far the wealthiest city in Europe. It's one of the 5 wealthiest cities in the world. If London was an independent country, its economy would be around about the same size as Sweden's. Now, all this wealth, as you may have noticed as visitors, all this wealth can make London quite an expensive place to visit. And in particular, in the last couple of years, the price of balloons has gone up greatly. And a lot of people are blaming inflation. Tough crowd. That's like grade A material then. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you fancy a trip on the London Eye, but you haven't bought a ticket yet, here's a little tip. Hang on to your ticket with the river cruise. When you go to buy a ticket for the London Eye, show it to them. You'll get an automatic upgrade to a combined ticket, which will save you a couple of pounds. That's a London. It's a very cheap city. If you fancy doing a historical walk, Anfield right there, you've got Big Ben, the House of Parliament, Westminster Abbey. You take that in, you can walk up Downing Street, number 10 Downing Street, is only about 5 minutes away from that. Then another 7-8 minutes after that through to James's Park, you've got Buckingham Palace. After that, you can do another 8 to 10 minutes, you're in Trafalgar Square. So you can do that historical walk and take in all the big sites of London in about 35 minutes. And then to do make sure, I'll give you a heads up when you're good to go. And ladies and gentlemen, we would absolutely love it. We would absolutely love it if you would give us a review on TripAdvisor, on Twitter, on the interweb. If you've enjoyed the tour, my name has been Luke. If you haven't enjoyed the tour, my name has been Dave. I'm at the bottom of the stairs at the end of the tour to see you off. And you want to give me a fist bump, a high five, token of your appreciation. You ever so great, you want to give me some feedback. I can always learn from customers' feedback. If you need tips on nice places to go in London, nice restaurants, I'm a born and bred Londoner. The accent may have given me away. I'll be more than happy to point in the right direction. I can point you in the direction of coming off the beach track base as well. Something pleasant to do.
Okay everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video of the boat tour in London. Thanks for watching.